3 months ago, I switched to editing on Linux because Windows 10's end of life was imminent and I've tried Windows 11. Safe to say I'm not doing that again. And after editing a full project on Linux that made me look like the schizophrenic in a room full of Linux users, I decided, why not make a video on it so that you don't make the same mistake? Now I also realized that a good portion of people who watch first-time Linux videos are Linux users themselves. And because the average viewer age of this video will be 120, I will try my absolute best not to over-edit it. So with that out of the way, enjoy the first-time Linux experience for editors. So I first need to pick my Linus Torvald distribution. My main use case for a personal computer is editing and playing games while recording them so I can edit them, with a couple of artsy things here and there. And it just so happens that the company that made the editing software that I am using has also made their own dedicated Linux build called the Rocky Linux 8.6 DaVinci Resolve, which is exactly why I went with Aurora. In my defense, they have a really cool logo. So this is a mostly immutable operating system, meaning I can modify the system files, which is important because I know myself and I will definitely need it. So first is flashing the operating system on a USB key with programs that sound like a sea creature or the one with the very unfortunate name. The USB key I found laying around dates from like 2007, so this might take a while. Okay, USB key is flashed, so next is to actually boot into it. I could do it the typical way of rebooting my computer and spamming every F key, including delete like a peasant, but I'm a professional. I run shell commands I don't understand. Okay, before I proceed with the installation, I do have to make the confession that I am a giant weeb who hasn't watched any Japanese series in like a decade. I heard there's an elf anime everyone's obsessed about. It's probably Death Note 2 or something. So I'll put my system language to Japanese and I'll just translate stuff on screen when needed, or you could just learn Japanese yourself like a real man. Your choice. Full name, username, and password. White. If it were any other qualifier that started with an S, you would be cheering right now. Shut up. And begin installation. So the installer tells me I can safely remove the disk I am currently installing the OS on. I'm sure it's fine. And we're in. Okay, now what? I wanted to edit videos and record games, so I'd have to install DaVinci Resolve, Steam, and OBS. In reverse order of ease. Wait, there is no need to search the web for app installers or use the command line. Katie's App Store Bazaar does it all for you. Click on any of the icons below to try it out. Wait, you're telling me I don't need to be a senior rocket engineer to install Chrome? That's pretty disappointing. How am I supposed to flex my Linux knowledge now? Installing a web browser on Linux unironically takes 3 clicks. That is wild. Anyway, how do I get rid of Firefox? I am not getting caught dead using that shit. Firefox. Oh. Well, that was easy. And I now have a usable web browser. Wait, does that mean they have all the other apps? Steam. Steam as well. Actually, do they have Discord? Oh, yes, they do. How about DaVinci Resolve? Well, it couldn't be that easy, could it? Okay, let's start with easier tasks then. How do I change the wallpaper? Desktop to kabegami. That's probably it. Perfect. Okay, how do I center the icons on the taskbar? I may have mostly negative, well, uniquely negative things to say about Windows 11, but I really like the center icons. Panel settings. What am I looking at? So there's a separator here. What if I move it to the... Nope. Add panel. That's a kanji I haven't seen in a while. What is that? Default panel? Wait. What if I open my web browser? This is so stupid. I love it. That is not what I'm looking for, though. Create empty panel. Okay, no, so panel just means taskbar. So if I click on the taskbar itself, there's a lot of things there that pop up, but I don't think any of them allow me to center the icons. What about add new? Spacer? Ooh. So what if I put it to the left of the icons? I mean, I'm already getting closer. What if I add another one to the right as well? I don't think you're supposed to do it like this, but I don't care, it works. What are widgets, though? Oh, that is way too many. Vault. That sounds cool. How about application dashboard? Okay, so if I click it... Okay, so application dashboard just turns the taskbar into Windows 8. Don't you dare touch my fucking taskbar ever again. What about the application manager? Oh, so it's just a simpler version of the start menu. Wait, how do I change the icon so that it's the same one as the one still left? Change icon. Aurora. Well, that's not it. Well, let me see on the other one. Distributor logo symbolic. So I just have to search for that. Wait, there's even a colored one? That's so cool. Perfect. Also, how do I change my display settings? My second monitor is physically on the left, but is virtually on the right. I mean, it's still usable, unlike Windows 11. Display settings... Well, that was easy. What's the rest of this? Scale. It doesn't do any... Oh, apply. Oh, so it changes the scale of all UI elements. That's pretty cool. I'll keep it to 100 though. Color profile and color accuracy. I have no clue what that means. I'll just leave it to default. Brightness, keep that to 100. Legacy application and screen tearing. I'm not touching that. I'm pretty sure if I even try to pronounce any of these, my furniture will start floating. Accessibility, what AI will become in the future, wallpapers, colors, and... Ooh, that sounds fancy. Wait, that's how you change the light and dark theme? Wait, what does it look like in light theme? I am never doing that again. Apparently, I haven't learned my lesson from the time I accidentally switched to this for light theme. Colors, yeah, I'm not touching that. Plasma style. Oh, that's the style of widgets. What am I, a geek? Ew. Window style. Breeze and plastic. I already have enough of that in my bloodstream. No thanks. Wait, what? Apply. Wait, there is no way they have fucking icon themes for everything. Who in their right mind would make icons for everything multiple? I'm literally on Linux. What am I talking about? Papyrus. That just looks like Android icons. Ooh, candy icons look clean. Wait, it even changes the web browser icons. Linux truly is the operating system of the unemployed. I feel right at home. Cursor. Oh, that one I know immediately what I'll pick. I already use a Linux cursor pack on Windows called Bibata because it looks so cool. And orange is the best color. Fight me. Bibata Amber. There it is. Perfect. Okay, I'm not planning on spending 20 hours on customization, even though it is very tempting. And I organize even my memes folder, so you know I'm exercising self-control of the highest order right now. So DaVinci Resolve. And because their website is so well designed, if you want to download the latest studio version, you have to go on their support page of all things and order it by software. Download for Linux. Linux install instructions. What am I looking at? I mean, it's on an HTML file, so I'm assuming I can open it with my web browser, right? No? Maybe if I extract it? Why is it not on the desk? No way it is. It's just behind the vault, which I completely forgot about. That's pretty clunky, and I've used Windows 11. Okay, that was a bit too easy. So that's a ton of text just to tell me to run the installer. I think I know why everyone skips install instructions now. So if I run the installer, it doesn't work. Missing packages zlib. How to install zlib. I believe I'm on a Fedora-based build. I am never saying that again. So I have to run this command. The fact that the console is pinned by default is pretty based. I'll be straight. Wait, there's a list of available commands. Isn't that convenient? Why can't Control-Shift-C and Shift-V? That's inconvenient. First world problems, I guess. BIOS. That sounds pretty cool. Wow, who would have thought? The command line called BIOS restarts my PC and immediately puts me into the BIOS with no warnings. You should have learned from my #1 most trusted source of information. Memes. Cockpit. I'm an actual child. Terminal transparency. What if I set it to 0? Why error? You just shoot. Oh, wait, is it because I have to include the you just at the start? What now? Transparency must be greater than 0. Transparency may be better than... What about 0.05? There is no way. Perfect. Install Resolve. Okay, wait. Install Resolve. There is no way it's that easy. This script requires... Oh, wait. This script requires you to download DaVinci Resolve and put it in the downloads folder. Well, how convenient. Yes, I am sure. Why does it give me the choice between two identical entries? I'll go with #1 because that's what I am, obviously. Inflated. What does has the internet done to my brain? So I guess it's just installing, which makes me think, is there more ways to customize the console? Can I open another console while it's installing? Yes, I can. Palettes. Show open. Oh my fucking god. Okay, that one looks pretty cool. Wait, I just realized. What's that fancy Linux neofetch? This is definitely not helping the narcissism allegations. I use Archit, by the way. Wait, why did my cursor get bigger all of a sudden? Why is my cursor... It's an accessibility setting. Can I press Windows I like in Windows? Apparently not. Can I modify my keyboard shortcuts? Yes, I can. So I can straight up assign shortcuts not only to system actions, but also to run applications and even scripts. That's... Self-control. So now if I press Windows I... Perfect. What about Task Manager? Control-Shift-Escape like in Windows, please. Actually, speaking of Windows 11 more specifically, if you open your Task Manager with Control-Shift-Escape and start spamming the Windows key to open and close the Start menu, you will see how your RAM and CPU usage start to skyrocket. That's right, there's a memory leak in a core Windows 11 feature. So it still hasn't finished installing, so let me just see if Steam is working properly. The OBS definitely is, because I've been using it to record for almost the entire video, except for the installing part, of course. Worked out of the box, too. And Steam is straight up the same thing. Wait, there are Steam themes in Linux? Oh, absolutely. Give me Tokyo Night. That sounds lovely. Okay, that looks so cool. Why isn't this on Microsoft Windows? Okay, so let me install a game or two. I'll go with Ocho because it's the best game ever, and Deadlock because my best friend, who's unfortunately French,
Je suis mort 0 fois.
convinced me I should play games to actually enjoy them, not just as an excuse to exercise my workaholism. Plus, that way I can also test if Discord works well. Downloading Proton. I mean, I am using the password manager, but what does Steam have to do with it? Oh, so it's a compatibility layer. I'll pretend like I know what that is. So while these are installing, the DaVinci Resolve installation just finished. Can I just launch it from the menu? Yes, I can. Oh, right, I forgot. I actually bought this legally without an eye patch. I can't believe I contributed to Jeff Bezos' per second salary once. His head shines brighter with every cent. I'm basically doing myself a perpetual Discord light theme at this point. Hopefully I don't forget to blur my activation key out in post. And to my surprise, everything seems to be working properly, at least at first glance. I'll probably regret saying these words for the rest of my life as soon as I get started with editing an actual video. So I'll start editing on that later, but for now, let me see if the games are running. So both games run flawlessly, and I got to absolutely style on Redditors using slightly dissenting opinions on my bloody based Bummer Blaster Bebop build.
T'aurais dit, je vais acheter Bunda Spirit.
Mec, est-ce que je vais one-tap la Haze?
Now, yes, the sample size is fair, but OBS seems to record with no real hiccups. That's 2 out of the... Wait, I just realized there's drawing as well. Well, let's do that then. I remember seeing something about a tablet in the command list too. Let me check that again. Open tablet driver. Yeah, that's probably it. Why is my cursor appearing in 2 places at a time? I figured out what the problem was, which is that the OS by default has a built-in tablet driver, but Open Tablet Driver was working at the same time and both were fighting for the cursor priority. And the only way I can disable it is by going into the terminal and typing sudo rmmode wacom anytime I start the PC, which is annoying, but I don't use it daily either, so it's not the end of the world. Anyway, what was I doing? Oh yeah, right, drawing. From what I've seen, KuruHS seems to be the go-to app for drawing on Linux, so I tried to make an illustration in both KuruHS and Medibank Paint, the program I used on Windows, and... well, I prefer Medibank. Not just the result, but the workflow. Like, what is it with Linux programs always having so much shit? I mean, I get it's supposed to be a capable program, but it would unironically take me more time to learn the goddamn program than it would to get better at drawing. See Blender for more information. I mean, it is a capable program, evidenced by the fact that it's not too bad for a first draw, but I'm an organized man, and this gives me sclerosis. So yeah, making illustrations on Linux is definitely doable, but you have to accept Krita as your main program, probably. Now, time to get the final task out of the way. I'll start editing a project that I wanted to make for a while, which is a tier list of older games, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Hopefully it'll just be as seamless as... Why is the Show and Explorer option not working? I now know more about how Linux works than your average r/Linux user, regrettably. Did I manage to fix open and folder menus not working? Fuck no. First, I found out that the ujust command for installing DaVinci Resolve is just a script that sets up a DistroBox container. What's a container? It's essentially running another Linux within your Linux, but without using that much more in terms of resources. You can say a lot about Linux devs, but you can't deny their actual wizard sometimes. So at first I thought the container couldn't reach my file manager, so I found out that Linux opens stuff from your file manager using a command called xdg-open. XDG opens within the container. Why are you not working? Then I tried making my own container using the custom Rocky Linux ISO file. Turns out that was as useful as the Blizzard HR department. I then tried wrapping DaVinci Resolve within a terminal environment so that I could log everything it does, and it turns out it's not even fucking calling anything. I'm up for a challenge, but this is like Dead by Daylight developers handing me the source code and saying, here, fix this. Motherfucker. Well, I guess I have a button that does nothing now. I can live with it. But I'm making a video about older games, and who says older games says emulators, most of which are Windows only. Surely this will be easier to set up. I thank God every single day for making me the way I am, because I would have fucking lost it by now. So games that are already on Steam didn't take any work, just run it through Proton, bim bam, done. Games that aren't on Steam but don't require an emulator aren't that much harder to run. You can just run them through a compatibility layer UI like Bottles or Lutris and just do the same thing you did on Steam with Proton. Problem is, older games that not only aren't on Steam but require an emulator. For example, one of the games I cover is Captain Claw, which is a 16-bit game that can't run on anything older than Windows 3.1. How did I manage to make it work? I don't want this video to be 3 out. It gets way worse with some of these. Do you know what a display server is? I wish I fucking did it. One of the games I wanted to run was Forbidden Memories, which I totally own a legit copy of, wink wink. It's a PlayStation 1 game, and the most common emulator for it is EPSXE. So I downloaded the executable, tried to run it, but the terminal says something in moon runes. No, I mean these. These are bushes. I can read most of these. It indicates lib curses SO5 is missing. Now, .so means it's a library, so I can probably just install it as a package, right? Well, it turns out yes, but actually, no. Turns out you're supposed to install the IA32libs package. But it turns out EPSXE only officially supports Ubuntu. And I'm on a RHEL build, so my package manager isn't apt but DNF. So now I have to find how it is named on the DNF package manager. Now, how do I do that? That is a very good question. Do you know what a display server? So I first thought it just couldn't display properly because everywhere I looked, it was talking about enhancing visuals and utilizing graphical hardware. And I learned a little too much about the ins and outs of X11, Wayland, and even the Xlib framework. What does it all mean? Trust me, I'm saving you a nuclear fucking migraine by skipping all the details. My point is, it was all a giant waste of time because RHEL is deprecating 32-bit libraries. I am not losing it. I am so not losing.
I love you like a love song.
Oh shit! Let's fucking go! And I'll play. Woo! It turns out all I had to do is very simply use the Windows version of EPSXE, which I run using the very specific Proton KuruHS 10.0 2025 0905. Why this one specifically? Okay, I may be losing it just a little. Now I have a new problem, which is DaVinci Resolve freezing my entire system if the timeline is too heavy. Motherfucker, have you seen my videos? I am not running this project. I'm starting to think choosing a Linux distro because of its cool logo wasn't the brightest idea I've ever had. In my defense, the logo is really cool.
Wake up in the morning. going and feeling like PD.
I have switched to KuruHS, which is one of the most popular gaming distros, which is built on top of Arch Linux. Now, I would say that I use Arch, by the way. Unfortunately, I am not overweight. Or a pen. Now, because KuruHS is based on Arch, it uses Pacman as its manager, and there is an AUR repository for installing DaVinci Resolve. Think basically the exact same thing as the one on Aurora, just it installs it directly instead of going through a container. Holy shit, wait, no way. The Show and Explorer button actually works. It really is the little things that matter in life, don't they? And why is the mask not work? Okay. So what have we learned today? When I initially brought up that I wanted to switch to Linux, the first response that I got from people that tried it was that I wouldn't be able to use any of Adobe's software and that I couldn't play any games that had a rootkit anti-cheat like League of Legends. And I thought, wow, what are the negatives? And it turns out that Linux is way more usable than I initially thought it would be. I even kept some habits from Linux back to Windows. For example, I almost exclusively install apps through Winget UI now, which is Linux's equivalent of the app manager. I also stopped using an antivirus. That shit's for cowards. And most importantly, Linux runs most games flawlessly and overall runs better than Windows does. So if you use your computer as a bootloader into Chrome or Steam with Discord open, then I see no reason as to why you shouldn't switch. Or don't, that's okay. Coward. But if you're doing professional or generally artistic work, unfortunately you're still stuck on either the digital equivalent of a war crime or living like a secondary character in Mad Max while using the corporate software that I'm sure you get legally as well. But I'll try again next year and see if it improves my day. Anyway, see you in the next video where we will be exploring all the ways we can lobotomize ourselves just the right way to join a moderator team on Reddit.